This is my crash damaged E92 M3. Most of you know that by now. Last week I posted the reveal video on YouTube and my other platforms, which went pretty viral. Got hundreds of thousands of views and a lot of support from you guys. So first of all, thank you for that. Revealing this crash left most of you with more questions than answers. I want to be a transparent car YouTuber and you guys are my supporters. I do this for you guys. So today I'm going to answer the 15 most asked questions about this whole incident and going forward and literally everything. And I'm going to take the filter off and be 100% honest and as transparent as possible with all of you guys. If you watched the reveal video last week, the whole video was me sitting in the driveway with this crashed M3, reliving the horrible events. I don't really want to do that today. Good thing we've got that right there, my F82 M4. Let's take it out for a drive, have some sensible fun, and go through the questions. Like I said, no question is too invasive or too deep. We're going through it all, and in the process, let's enjoy the other baby while this one rests. So it's only fair we do a semi-cold start. Oh my God. And that is with valves closed as well. As we let the M4 warm up, I want to welcome you to another Performance Nick YouTube video, your favorite BMW YouTuber here in Australia. We do a bit of everything from BMW content itself, talking about car laws, enjoying our cars, and well, the ups and downs and everything. As we've recently seen, quite a few downs, but only up from here. With that said, let's get going. So let's start with the easiest question and work our way up to the most confronting ones at the end of the video. With the first question being, what's next? A simple question with a not so simple answer. The first step at this stage is to sell and get rid of the E92 M3. As bad as it sounds, it's just dead weight, taking up space in my driveway, and there's no use to me owning it anymore. I'd rather have the money and the space back. Through later in the video why I'm not fixing it or repairing it myself, but after we get rid of the E92, we'll be looking for another car. One thing I know which is happening next is the content is not stopping. I am not going anywhere. Absolutely love making this content, and since revealing the accident, I can see how much you guys care for me and this channel and these cars. When I revealed it, I had so many messages, I couldn't reply to them all. I was replying to them for 2 hours straight, and eventually I was just too late. I had to go to bed. I had to keep going in the morning. It's really showed me how much you guys care for me, support me, the cars, the channel, everything. So the content is here to stay. Now to the next question. Will you consider any other cars, or is another E9X your goal again? The next car is a mystery, not because I don't know what I want. I could probably list you 50 cars right now, which I would love to buy, consider buying, do anything in my will to buy. Like I said in the reveal video, for a fact, I will be buying another E9X product, whether it's an E90 or an E92, probably not an E93, but I would love another M3 for me. Best car I've ever owned. I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. I guess the question is that something we worry about doing now? Or is that something we do down the track? Is the PCAM legacy something that needs to be followed up right away? Or can it be done in a few years' time? To answer your question, yes, I am considering everything. I'd even consider selling the F82 and buying one really cool car instead of having two. What that is, I really don't know. It varies from an Audi R8 to a cheap Aussie car to everything and anything. I don't know, but the first priority, like I said, is getting rid of the E92 M3 before we worry about spending more money on another car. Would I get rid of the F82 for another E92? The more I've been driving this M4, the more I'm falling in love with it. I know I fell out of love with it at one stage, but now that I've only been driving it, of course, because I don't have a second car to drive around, it still grows on me even though I've owned it for 2 years. And especially now, I feel so much more connected to it since we did the wrap. The color and the wheels and everything, it just suits me so much better. I feel like it is me. It is a representation of me, the color and the spec and how it looks at the moment. But when it comes to the two cars, the E92 and the F82, I feel like a parent with two kids, I guess. The F82, the younger, smarter, more athletic kid, which is better on paper. But the E92 is the older kid, the one which I can relate to more. And I feel like we've been through more, even though we haven't known each other as long, but I feel like we've been through more with this accident and everything else involved. From buying it interstate, learning manually in it, going for my driver's test in it, we've done so much together and I feel more connected to it. Not saying I've got a favorite, but I've got more of a connection to the E92 than the F82. And like I said, I was planning on keeping that car forever. Would I sell the F82 to buy another E92? The answer is probably not. I don't think I would. There would be a few exceptions, like for example, if someone was trading me a supercharged M3 for one of these, I probably would take it because that is something which is very special. But unless it's like a unicorn of an M3 or like I said, a very big build sheet like a supercharged one, I don't think I would. Were those new wheels? This part kills me so much as well. Yes, they were new wheels on the E92. I just put the Apex VS 5RS style wheels on the car and they were perfect, like literally perfect for the E92 and the color. It couldn't be a better setup. I got them from Elite Motorwork over in Sydney. I said it in the last video, I'll say it again. They hooked me up with these incredible wheels. I'm so sad they didn't get to see the light of day on the E92, but I have ordered a replacement wheel for the one I damaged, so hopefully I can put them on this car or another car in the future. I guess we'll see. So once again, I need to apologize to Elite Motorwork and the whole team there because I got the wheels. I was going to promote them literally the next day, and then I got an accident and destroyed one of them. What a nice guy. God forbid I make a video. Anyways, shout out to Elite Motorwork once again for hooking me up with those Apex style wheels, and hit them up if you want any yourself. Why did you hold off on the reveal video about the crash? Probably the second most asked question, understandably, and well, there's a few reasons. Crash happened at the very end of 2025 in December. I filmed that YouTube video in February 2026, and I released it now in May 2026. So about 5 months, give or take, in between. I had a million scenarios playing in my head on solutions of what we could do. My original plan was to fix it up and surprise you guys with it. Hey, I crashed my car, but I fixed it without any of you knowing, but obviously we didn't do that. And I also wanted to give myself and the people around me enough time to fully heal and get past the situation. It is something which some people get over like that. Other people, it'll take them months to get over and could be permanently scarred from it, which makes sense. I've now fully healed because of all the time that's gone past. It doesn't affect me as much anymore. Of course, I've learned many lessons, which we'll go through as well. But from a deep emotional side, I have moved on in that sense where it's not keeping me up at night like it was at the start. Is it fixable in any way? I lied to you guys. This is definitely the most asked question. And this also bounces off the last question on why I didn't fix it and reveal it to you guys. The answer is yes and no. Is it fixable? Yes, definitely it can be. Will I be fixing it? No, I will not be. End of the day, the car is still a clean title, as in it's not a stat write-off or a repairable write-off because it didn't go through insurance. More on that later as well. When it comes to rebuilding any car, there's a mechanical side of it and a physical side of it. From a mechanical side, there's a little bit, but not too much. Thank God the driveline is okay, apart from a cracked sump. Otherwise, there is a subframe which is damaged, control arms, the wheel hub, etc., where all that impact was on the passenger side wheel. From a physical standpoint, obviously, you guys could see it in the last video. The fender, which I don't actually know where it is, the front bumper, the bonnet, the roof, there's a few things around the body which need to be addressed. The headlight, there's a bit. With the right connections, as in you are a panel beater or a mechanic or your family is one, your close friend is one, you could do it and probably do it for a good price. I mean, I got no idea, but 10, maybe 15K fixing it all up. But if you're like me, who's got no experience rebuilding cars, literally zero, the most I've ever done to a car is change my wheels and change my oil. Well, I can't do it myself. And if I go to a shop and pay full retail for the panel and the mechanical work, it just wouldn't make sense to charge me way too much, putting their markup on all the parts and all the labor and everything that comes with it. Whereas if I'm doing it all myself, there's $0 labor. I'm just paying for parts, which I could just go get for the cost price myself. I don't have to pay any markups. So will it end up back on the road again? I guess that depends on the person who buys it next. But in my opinion, which isn't professional, I don't see why it couldn't. Before we hit the next topic, let's get a coffee. All right, this is just a scam. Look at the ice, it's all at the bottom, frozen at the bottom. Not really much of an iced coffee. Anyways, why not sell to Rex H for a rebuild? Talking about someone of experience, that is your guy, Rex H. As we know, he's rebuilt a few cars. He knows what he's doing, and at least he knows a lot more than what I know. And look at this, I got the Slurpee straw as well. Come on, guys. I actually offered it to Rex when I realized I wasn't gonna fix it myself, and he declined just because it didn't align with his content. As we can see, his recent content hasn't really been rebuilding cars, even though he's done it in the past. What he was doing over the last few months didn't have to do with it. Now, he did tell me he'd love to do it, and he is still kind of considering it, but at this stage, he isn't buying this car. With that said, Rex, if you want to buy it, I've still got the car at the moment, and I'd love for you to buy it, fix it up, and I'd be able to see it and drive it once again. Hey, no pressure, but if you guys start commenting on his post, he might have to, I don't know. Who was truly at fault, and was it a skill or a mechanical issue? One thing I try and pride myself on in all the content I make is to be as transparent as possible with you guys, to keep everything on record and tell you everything, of course, within reason. I said it in last video and I'll say it again. I not so proudly will admit it is 100% my fault. I'm not going to blame the car, I'm not going to blame the weather, I'm not going to blame anything but my driving abilities and my attention to what happened there it's on me, it's on my shoulders. I admit it, I accept it, and I'm not proud of it. Misjudged the median strip in the road, and I got too close to it without any time or space to react, leaving me with no option but to crash the car. There was no way where I could have saved it after I had got to that point, and there was nothing I could do. But it's on me. It's a fact. 100% was racing Hector's Civic with a spoon engine and NOS and a boiler system exhaust. I will not confirm or deny these allegations. How much money did you lose? This is a tricky one because I can't really answer at this stage because obviously I still own the E92, so I don't know. Someone might buy it for the money that I spent on it. Yeah, they won't. How beautiful this road is, by the way. Am I changing the topic so I don't talk about how much money I lost? I don't know. Anyways, we're being transparent. Realistically, probably $25,000. Maybe a bit more, maybe less. I don't know at this stage. For anyone, a 20K hit is very hard, and I am self-made. I bought my cars myself. I'm not daddy's money, even though people keep saying it. I actually don't know why. Anyways, I bought them myself. I'm losing my own money. I'm making my own money. It is what it is. I have survived. I financially am going to survive. I've got enough money to keep going. Obviously, I've still got the M4. It's not like I had to sell it because I got no money left. I am in a position where I'm not going to financially struggle from this. So that is a blessing in itself. So I thank God for that, and we'll be all good, no matter what that negative statement is in my bank account. This is a pretty cool angle. Let's try it out. Will this change how I drive, as in more safely? Yes, I believe it will. Not in the sense which I was reckless or dumb with my driving before, but it has opened my eyes to the dangers which can happen from enjoying your hobby and even just commuting. Especially when I've got passengers in the car now, I'm going to refrain from doing anything silly or anything risky in any sense. Even if 99 out of 100 times it would be fine, I don't want to take that risk with someone else in my car. After driving all these years, of course I have done some silly things and some things which could have ended very, very badly, both on a track and allegedly on public roads. I've always preached to not put the people around you in danger, as in the people in your car or other people on the road. This, of course, is hypocritical because I did put the people in my car in danger, but this has just brought more attention to the fact which I have to listen to my own teachings more. Well, not teachings, but philosophy, what I believe in. Does your insurance cover you as a P-plater in an illegal car? The second part, I'm not a P-plater, and I wasn't during the accident. I got off my P-plates before the accident, so technically I wasn't driving an illegal car because I was licensed to drive it at the time. If I was still on my P-plates, my insurance would still cover me, but it would be a bigger excess. I already had to pay a big excess because I'm under 25, etc. But at least there wasn't anything to do with the P-plates. But with the insurance itself, that's when it gets a bit tricky because they covered the damage of the other person's car which I hit, but not mine. That's my loss and that's on my shoulders. You'd think me going out to the mountains in the middle of the week would mean no traffic, but it's Melbourne. So I'm sitting in standstill traffic in the middle of the mountains at 4 p.m. on a weekday. Why didn't you have insurance? Perfectly leading off the last question. So I did have insurance in the sense I had third party fire and theft, meaning the car caught on fire, it got stolen, I got paid out. Third party, meaning I hit anyone else or anything else, my insurance covered me 100%. Oh no, talking about accidents, I think we've just experienced one in front of us. Oh my God. Jesus. I will be blurring this guy's plates, but he's had a worse day than me in the M3, that's for sure. As we can see, I don't know if you guys can see that in the mirror as well. He's just flipped his car. Damn. Well, talking about insurance, I hope he had insurance. Jokes aside, whoever you are, there's a very low chance you see this video, but if you see this video, I feel your pain, man. God, that's hard to see. It looked like everyone was okay, they're all standing outside of the car, but God. So my third party insurance covered the damage I caused to the other car, gave him a loan car, gave him a payout, and now they've moved on and bought another car. So they lost nothing out of this situation, and they weren't annoyed at me, the people who owned the previous car. There's an ambulance going to that accident. Prayers up for you guys. They're all right, and there's the fire truck as well. Clearly a serious accident. Well, I'm not coming back this way because that road will be closed. Talking about the insurance, if I was to put comprehensive insurance on both my cars, as in this M4 and the M3, it was around $16,000 to $17,000 a year. I know, insane. Hindsight is 20/20. After the fact, it makes sense, and after the fact, yes, I should have had comprehensive insurance because I'd lose less money than I am losing from the accident, but it's hindsight. We're here now. At the time, it didn't make sense because my third-party fire and theft for both cars was about $1,800 or $1,900 for both cars, compared to $16,000 or $17,000 for both cars. Mistake, yes. Learning experience, Yes, things are getting deep, so why not go to somewhere beautiful and peaceful? What's your thoughts on experiencing a loss of a car with that weight of emotion? The car was the bottom of my priorities. There's a lot more things which are a lot more important to me in the situation than the piece of metal itself. This whole situation would be a lot different if it was me driving by myself, I lost control, crashed the car, walked out of it fine. I would have been devastated for the car's sakes. But the fact is, I had people I loved and cared about in my car, and I could have very easily ended their life, especially considering my girlfriend of 5 years was in that passenger seat where all the impact was. There was a very high chance she could have never walked out of that, but thank God she did. That is what killed me, and putting my ego to the side, my manliness suicide, I was crying myself to sleep for nights. I couldn't go to work, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't anything. It's the worst and lowest I've felt in my whole entire life by far, knowing the weight of that was on my shoulders. But you didn't ask about that, you asked about the car. After we've gone through everything and moved on, yes, it hurts me knowing I lost my forever car. To me, it was a lot more than a cool car. It was a childhood dream come true from watching it on Top Gear and all different places. I loved it. It was my favorite BMW, and as we know, I'm the BMW guy. So it hurts, same with the financial side, it hurts. But I've gone through so many cars, as in bought and sold, not crashed, to realize they are cars. Yes, you can get attached to them, but you can get replacements. It's not like I had an M3 GTS or a McLaren F1 where it's impossible to find another one. I had an E92 M3. Now, while they are going up in value, they've literally gone up about 10K since when I bought it to now, 9 months later. Oh, almost 12 months later, actually. I know I can go out there and buy another E90 or an E92 in the future. It's possible, it's not impossible. So it sucks, but we will get another one down the track. You've got my word on it. I'll do you a deal, shake your hand between the screen. I will get another one. What's the biggest lesson? Let's end the video with the most important thing out of anything. If you don't learn from your mistakes, what's the point of having them? You're gonna keep making mistakes. This might seem hypocritical considering the situation, but my biggest lesson about nearly losing my life is to go out and live my life. And for me, living my life is through that, through cars. That is my passion. I know it will be now, and I know it will be in 20, 30 years as well. You guys might have seen this viral video on TikTok saying 50 million people are fighting cancer, 173,000 people didn't wake up today, and 80 million people can't walk. With the underlying message being, your ordinary is someone's dream. I know my calling in life is these cars, and there are people out there who are fighting much bigger issues and concerns than I do with a crashed car. Realizing me being close to losing it all means I need to go out there and enjoy my life and passion, because there might be a day where I can't do it, whether it's my fault or just not. I get struck by lightning walking down the street. Of course, after this whole crash event, I know I'll be a lot more cautious and safe, as I know the risks and the repercussions that could come. But I do know if I don't live my life how I want to live it and do the things I want to do, why would I wait? Because there might be a day where I can never do it again. So moral of the story was, nearly losing my life and losing my everything made me realize I need to do everything I want and need to do while I still can, while I'm young, while I'm healthy. Let's do it now. With that all said, it is now time to move on. I'm not going to sit here milking the content out forever, and it's probably better for me mentally to move on and worry about other things. But it was a good run, me and the E92. I love your E92. I'll never forget you, PChem. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another performance sneak video. Today, with the F82 and the E92. I haven't done that in a long time, but it was great to get all these things off my chest, and now we can officially move on. I want you guys to comment down below what would be the next car I should get once the E92 is gone. I'm not saying we're getting a new car anytime soon, don't think that's what's happening, but once the E92 is gone, we've got the F82 left. Do we get rid of the F82 and buy one cool car? Do we have two cool cars like we did before? I don't really know. I need your suggestions, and don't comment Lamborghini events at all because I can't afford one. Don't comment C6ZR1 because I can't find one. Anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and also make sure you drive safely. As we've seen, I've been in a big accident and someone in this video got in a big accident. Life is precious, so look after it. Drive safely. I'll see you next week.